What does it actually take to build wealth in Canada in 2026? Not the vague answer. Spend less than you earn and invest early. Everyone has heard that. The specific answer. The 6-step framework. The accounts to open. The order to fund them. The debt to eliminate first. The investments that are right for most Canadians. The retirement math. The specific numbers at each stage. Here is the honest reality. The average Canadian arrives at retirement with approximately $272,000 in personal savings. That generates approximately $10,336 per year at a 3.8% withdrawal rate. Combined with CPP and OAS, approximately $30,000 per year in total retirement income. In a paid-off home in a lower-cost city, survivable. In most major Canadian cities with ongoing costs, genuinely tight. Most Canadians do not build meaningful wealth, not because they lack the income, but because nobody ever gave them the complete ordered framework in one place. This video is that framework, 6 steps, in order, with the specific 2026 numbers, applicable to every Canadian at every income level. Start at the beginning of your financial life and work through it in order. Start in the middle and pick up from where you are. Either way, this is the complete map. Before investing, before extra mortgage payments, before anything else in this framework. The emergency fund. What it is: 3 to 6 months of essential living expenses in a liquid, accessible, high-interest savings account. Not invested in the stock market. Not in a GIC that locks it up. Available within 48 hours. Why it comes first. Without an emergency fund, every unexpected expense, a car repair, a medical bill, a month of reduced income, becomes a debt event. The person without an emergency fund who faces a $2,000 car repair puts it on a credit card at 19.99%. The person with an emergency fund pays cash and moves on. Over a lifetime, the emergency fund prevents the high-interest debt accumulation that derails every other step in the framework. The emergency fund is not an investment. It earns 3 to 4% in a high-interest savings account. It is not trying to generate returns. It is providing the financial stability that allows every other step to work as intended. The Canadian numbers: monthly essential expenses for a single person. Approximately $2,500 to $3,500. Emergency fund target, 3 months, $7,500 to $10,500. Emergency fund target, 6 months, $15,000 to $21,000. Where to keep it? EQ Bank, Wealth Simple Save, or any high-interest savings account paying 3% to 4%. Not the big bank checking account earning 0.01%. How long to build it? Most Canadians can build a 3-month emergency fund in 6 to 12 months by redirecting $500 to $1,000 per month from discretionary spending. Start with $1,000 as a first milestone. Then build to 1 month. Then 3. The specific target matters less than having something, and starting now. With the emergency fund in place, eliminate high-interest debt before investing a single dollar. The math that most people miss: paying off a credit card at 19.99% generates a guaranteed, risk-free, after-tax return of 19.99%. No investment in the world, no ETF, no stock, no real estate, reliably produces a guaranteed 20% annual return. Eliminating a 20% debt is the single highest return financial action available to most Canadians carrying consumer debt. The debt hierarchy: what to eliminate and in what order. Payday loans, 200% to 400% annualized. Emergency priority. Get these eliminated immediately. Contact a credit counselor if needed. Credit cards, 19.99%. Priority 1 after emergency fund. Avalanche method. Attack the highest rate balance first while paying minimums on all others. Lines of credit, 8% to 12%. Priority 2. Clear after credit cards. Car loans, 5% to 8%. Priority 3. Clear before non-registered investing. Student loans, variable. Check your specific rate. Clear if above 5% to 6%. Mortgage, 4% to 5%. Not emergency priority. The mortgage paydown versus invest decision depends on context. The avalanche versus snowball debate. The avalanche method, attacking the highest interest debt first, is mathematically optimal and saves the most money. The snowball method, attacking the smallest balance first for psychological momentum, produces better outcomes for people who struggle with consistency. For most Canadians, the avalanche method applied with consistency wins. If you have tried the avalanche and abandoned it, the snowball is better than neither. The specific target. No consumer debt above 6% before directing meaningful capital toward investing. The guaranteed return of eliminating high-interest debt exceeds the expected return of investing in almost every scenario. Here is the vault, the step most Canadians skip entirely, and the one that makes every other step dramatically more effective. The account structure. Specifically, getting your money into the right accounts before you invest a single dollar, because the account you hold an investment in determines how much of the return you actually keep. The Canadian Registered Account Stack, in priority order. 1. TFSA first, always, at every income level. The tax-free savings account is the most powerful wealth-building tool ever created for Canadians. Contributions are made with after-tax dollars, no deduction. But growth inside the TFSA is entirely tax-free. Withdrawals are entirely tax-free. The money never appears on a tax return again. The TFSA can hold ETFs, stocks, bonds, GICs, not just savings deposits. The 2026 annual limit is $7,000. Cumulative room, $109,000. Every dollar of investment return inside a TFSA belongs entirely to you. No capital gains tax, no dividend tax, no income inclusion at withdrawal. Over 20 to 30 years of compounding, this tax-free status is worth tens of thousands of dollars relative to the same investment held in a non-registered account. 2. FHSA second, if you are a first-time buyer. The First Home Savings Account combines the RRSP's tax deductibility, contributions are deductible, with the TFSA's tax-free withdrawals, qualifying home purchase withdrawals, are tax-free. The triple tax advantage, deductible in, grows tax-free, withdrawn tax-free for home purchase, makes the FHSA the most efficient savings vehicle Canada has ever created for first-time buyers. Annual limit, $8,000. Lifetime, $40,000. If you never buy a home, unused FHSA funds roll into your RRSP tax-free. 3. RRSP third, especially at higher marginal rates. The Registered Retirement Savings Plan defers tax on contributions, reducing taxable income today, and taxes withdrawals in retirement. The power of the RRSP depends on the marginal rate differential, contributing at 43% and withdrawing in retirement at 25% generates a 18 percentage point permanent tax saving on every dollar contributed. The RRSP is optimal for Canadians earning above approximately $50,000. Below this income, the TFSA is almost always superior because the marginal rate differential narrows or disappears. 4. Non-registered last. Only direct investment capital to a non-registered taxable account after all registered room is fully used. In a non-registered account, capital gains are taxed at 50% inclusion, dividends annually, and interest at full marginal rates. The tax drag meaningfully reduces long-run returns relative to the TFSA. The account structure priority that makes everything else more efficient. TFSA to FHSA, if applicable, to RRSP, if earning above $50,000, to non-registered. With the emergency fund built, high-interest debt eliminated, and accounts structured correctly, now invest. The good news, the optimal investment strategy for most Canadians is also the simplest one. The core principle, broad diversification at low cost, held consistently for decades. Approximately 90% of actively managed funds underperform their benchmark index over 15 years after fees, SPIVA Canada scorecard. The fee gap is the primary driver. A fund charging 2.0% annually versus an ETF charging 0.20% produces a gap of approximately $396,000 on a $100,000 portfolio over 30 years from fees alone on the same underlying return. The all-in-one ETF solution. For most Canadians, a single all-in-one equity ETF inside the TFSA and RRSP is the optimal investment, not because of simplicity for its own sake, but because the evidence for it is overwhelming. XEQT, 100% global equities, ETF holds approximately 9,000-plus stocks across 50-plus countries. TFSA first choice for most Canadians. VEQT, 100% global equities, broadly similar construction. VBAL or XBAL, 60% equities / 40% bonds. For investors within 10 years of retirement or with lower risk tolerance. The Rule of 72, the most important number in wealth building. Divide 72 by your expected annual return to find how many years it takes to double your money. At 6%, doubles every 12 years. At 7.2%, doubles every 10 years. At 10%, doubles every 7.2 years. The compounding acceleration. Why time matters more than amount. $500 per month for 30 years at 7%. Approximately $567,000. $1,000 per month for 20 years at 7%. Approximately $521,000. Investing less for longer produces more than investing more for less time, because the compounding in the final decade does the heavy lifting. The 20-year investor who doubles their contribution never catches up to the 30-year investor who started earlier. The automation mandate. Set up automatic monthly transfers on payday. Before discretionary spending can absorb the surplus. The date should be the day after payday or the same day. The amount should be fixed. The investment should be automatic. Remove the monthly decision entirely. DRIP. Dividend Reinvestment Plan. Enable DRIP on every position during the accumulation phase. Each dividend automatically purchases additional units. Those units generate their own dividends. The compounding accelerates with every reinvestment. Do not turn DRIP off until you actually need the income. The first 4 steps focus on the spending and investing side of wealth building. Step 5 addresses the income side, the lever that most personal finance content ignores entirely because it is less comfortable to talk about than budgeting tips. The fundamental truth about wealth building at different income levels, at $40,000 of annual income, even with perfect budgeting and investing, The ceiling on wealth accumulation is low. There is only so much surplus available after essential expenses. The most impactful thing a Canadian earning $40,000 can do for their long-term wealth is increase their income, not optimize their latte spending. The Canadian income growth levers, in order of impact. Lever 1. Job mobility. The most reliable way to increase income in Canada is to change employers. Research consistently shows that job changers receive 10 to 15% salary increases on average versus 2 to 3% annual raises for employees who stay. Over a career, the cumulative impact of 3 or 4 strategic employer changes can easily amount to $500,000 to $1 million in additional lifetime earnings. Loyalty to a single employer has historically not been rewarded with proportionate compensation growth. Lever 2. Negotiation. Most Canadians do not negotiate salary at offer or at review. This is the most immediate, zero-cost income lever available. A $5,000 salary increase negotiated at the point of hire compounds forward. Every future raise is applied to a higher base. A Canadian who fails to negotiate a $5,000 offer difference and stays in the role for 10 years leaves approximately $70,000 to $100,000 in cumulative compensation on the table. Lever 3. Skills that command market premium. Specific skills, particularly in technology, finance, healthcare, trades, and data. Command wage premiums of 20% to 50% above median. The investment of time and money in acquiring one market premium skill often produces returns that dwarf any investment return. A Canadian who spends $5,000 and 6 months acquiring a cloud certification that lifts their salary from $65,000 to $85,000 has made a 400% annual return on the investment. Lever 4. Side income and eventual business ownership. Side income, freelancing, consulting, a side business provides income diversification and potentially generates corporate income eligible for the 9% federal small business tax rate versus personal rates of 30 to 53%. For Canadians who build a viable side business, the tax efficiency of incorporating is one of the highest return decisions available. The income-investment relationship, every $10,000 increase in annual income, invested at 7% for 20 years, generates approximately $521,000 in additional wealth. Increasing income is not separate from investment strategy. It is the most powerful input to it. Step 6 is not a distant event to plan for vaguely. It is a specific, calculable target that determines how much steps 4 and 5 need to produce. The retirement income formula, personal savings required, equals annual income target minus annual government benefits, divided by safe withdrawal rate, 3.8%. The 2026 government benefit floor. CPP maximum 2026, $1,507.65 per month. But the realistic average is approximately $900 per month. Use your personal estimate from My Service Canada. OAS, July 2026, approximately $751.97 per month, ages 65 to 74. Rises to approximately $827.17 per month at 75. GIS, up to approximately $1,123 per month for low-income seniors, entirely tax-free. Combined average CPP plus OAS, approximately $19,800 per year. The government income floor. The 5 retirement decisions that determine the outcome. Decision 1, CPP timing. Delay CPP to 70 for a 42% permanent increase, worth approximately $119,000 in reduced personal savings required. Decision 2. Account sequencing. Draw RRSP first, ages 65 to 70 at low marginal rates, then TFSA for tax-free income that does not affect OAS clawback or GIS. Decision 3. RRIF management. RRSP converts to RRIF. By December 31st of the year, you turn 71. Mandatory minimums start at 5.28% and rise with age. Manage the RRIF balance to avoid forced withdrawals that trigger OAS clawback. Decision 4. OAS deferral for high earners. Deferring OAS to 70 adds 36% permanently, worth approximately $262 per month more at current rates. For earners near the clawback threshold, deferring while drawing RRSP funds is tax efficient. Decision 5. Healthcare and inflation planning. OCHIP covers most medical, not dental, vision, or many prescriptions. Private coverage, or ODB, Ontario Drug Benefit, for eligible seniors. Inflation at 2% means $45,000 today requires approximately $67,000 in 20 years to maintain purchasing power. CPP and OAS are indexed. Personal withdrawals are not. 6 steps. The complete framework. Let's put it together. Step 1. Emergency fund. 3 to 6 months of expenses in a high-interest savings account. The non-negotiable foundation. Step 2. Eliminate high-interest debt. No consumer debt above 6% before investing. A guaranteed 20% return beats any market. Step 3. Account structure. TFSA first. FHSA if first-time buyer. RRSP above $50,000 income. Non-registered last. The container determines how much you keep. Step 4. Invest simply and consistently. XEQT or VEQT in a TFSA. Automated monthly contributions. DRIP-enabled. The rule of 72 working for you for decades. Step 5. Grow income. Job mobility. Negotiation. Market premium skills. The most powerful input to every other step. Step 6. Plan for retirement. Your specific number. CPP delayed to 70. RRSP early. TFSA late. The government income floor that reduces what you need to accumulate. None of these steps is complex. All of them require time, consistency, and the willingness to follow the framework even when markets fall, when life interrupts, and when the temptation to do something different is highest. The average Canadian arrives at retirement with $272,000. The Canadian who follows this framework, at a median income starting today, arrives with $663,000 minimum and meaningfully more with income growth and optimal account sequencing. The framework is complete. The starting point is now.